Thank you, sir. All right. We have many visitors tonight, but those that are here, welcome to the business meeting for the planning and zoning. Everybody has the agenda in front of them. The first thing we need to do is the approval of the minutes for March 7th, 2023 business meeting and March 21st, 2023 public hearing meeting. And most of you, all of you, got your package, except for Stephanie, I think, will be able to vote on this one. So do I get a motion or?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second. No, never mind.
It has been moved and properly second that the minutes for March 7th, 2023 business meeting and the minutes of March 21st, 2023 public hearing meetings be approved. Any discussion? If not, scan it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Then it stand approved. All right. Let's go to item 1, introduction of our new District 3 Planning and Zoning Commission member, Stephanie Harlan. I think a lot of you may know her and a lot of you may not, but Stephanie, you want to tell us hello? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, Stephanie Harvin. I own Ironton Ranch in Comer, outside of the city. And I've come to just about every Board of Commissioners meeting, so I'm used to the meetings being,
No internet, no streaming out there? Can't get any entertainment?
no. Besides talking to the cows, so I come here to talk to some people.
Okay. Well, we want to welcome you to the board. Lots of fun. We have lots and lots and lots of fun. Welcome to the crowd. As usual, I'd like to ask the other members to introduce themselves and tell them who you are appointed by or whatever. Starting with Bruce.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Bruce Kennedy, District 5.
Cynthia Fort, and I was elected by the Kennedy.
Kenneth Bradley, District 1.
Canola Scott, appointed by the Chairman of the Board of Commissioners.
Lee Mitchell, District 2.
And William Smith, District 4.
And of course, Tracy. Disappeared.
She pulled the wrong folders. She pulled the wrong folders.
Pulled the wrong folders. Okay, so we're just waiting on her to return. Of course, all of you know Christopher. I guess we'll ask him to introduce himself and our attorney.
Howdy. Mr. Simmons knows me.
Mr. Simmons knows.
Do we have to pay extra if you introduce yourself?
Yeah. You can't afford it.
Got a budget.
You ask how much he charges.
You're real busy.
Yeah, no,
Is that for next time? Christopher, I hope you heard Commissioner last night. He gave us those 3 things.
Yes.
I'm sure you got that and run with it.
We started getting it lined up, so to say. Me and Mike had some conversations on it.
Okay. Well,
Wrong color.
first I tried to introduce you, you were gone. I
I
was
was missing in
surrounded.
action.
You were missing in action.
I was, I grabbed the wrong color.
Okay, Mr. Patrick, who is our zoning administrator. All right, we'll move into item 2, discussion of zoning applications for April 18th, 2023 public hearing. At this point, I'll turn it over to Tracy and let her go through them as she has them listed.
Okay, first up is Paul Simmons, and he is requesting to rezone 3 acres from A1 to AR to bring the lawfully non-conforming property into compliance with current zoning regulations and to combine the vacant property with his adjoining property, map 80, parcel 85A, for tax purposes. The property is located at 3675 Highway 191 in Danielsville on map 80, parcel 85-06 in District 4. He's just not wanting to keep that 3-acre tract separate. He's just wanting to combine it with its 6.78-acre tract that adjoins him that has his home on it. And that will, again, total 9.7 acres. And he had to wait until his CUBA contract had went out, and he's just wanting to do it purely for tax purposes. And that's also the next one that's coming up. The property is in his wife's name.
And that's the one it'll be combined with,
Yes.
and it's also from A1 to AR, so they'll
Yes,
have
sir.
the same zoning.
Mm-hmm.
We could,
Conservations.
I guess.
Oh,
that's what you're meaning, if that doesn't matter.
Yeah, we can with Mr. Simmons' permission. Is that okay, just do them together when it comes up at the public hearing?
Yeah. So we could take what's on 1 and 2 and just combine it, instead of having to have 2 hearings, so the exact same.
Oh.
I do apologize. Stephanie, do you have,
We're supposed to be making one.
you have this,
Out of 2
you have a copy of that?
The agenda?
Yes.
Yes, I have. Thank you.
And so these are the tax maps up here of the parcels to be combined.
And the surveyor's already gonna go ahead and just make it 1, so that it's just easier.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just do 1 and 2 together.
Yes,
Okay. All right.
Do you need for me to read the
No.
second application?
Let's go to number 3.
Okay, all righty.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, sir.
I know how you all have, I know your property around there, and the reason I called you today, you have absolutely no interest in joining the 53 acres with these 2 in any way for 3 combined parcels. You do?
Yeah, but it's in conservation use, and I was told I can't do that until the conservation
That's
use,
on a different schedule.
unless the Board of Tax Assessors, says that I can combine it without breaching the contract.
so that's something we
I
can
mean, I don't know.
change.
I am ignorant of all the details of the conservation use. I know some things you can do, some you can't do. But that's,
Don't feel lonely.
well, that's my ultimate goal, is to have the 54 acres combined with the 6 acres.
So that way it all could be A1 instead of having to go to AR.
But until his CUBA runs out, the way it sits now, there's not a possibility. And I forget how many years you got left on the CUBA.
20.
Conservation.
thought you could.
Put your land in conservation.
No, there's only like 3 exceptions. We won't get into them here, because I don't want to miss.
Yeah.
You don't miss the attorney.
Yeah, mess the attorney up or remember something, wrong versus Gary down there in property evaluation, but, it's also one reason why the planning and zoning office has, put together a checklist for when you come in to split or combine property, to check with CUBA to make sure the taxes are paid up on it.
But anyway, we can't even address that tonight
No,
anyway.
sir, we can't.
So the combination of the 2 is
all we can do.
Just one. Any other comments or questions? Okay, Ms. Grace.
Okay. Next up is Cleta Cantrell, and she is requesting to rezone her 7.69 acres from A1 to AR to bring the lawfully non-conforming property into compliance with current zoning regulations and to allow a second home to remain on the property as an accessory dwelling unit for her daughter. Property is located at 595 Duncan Swindle Road in Commerce on map 11, parcel 39-05 in District 1. And there was a little bit of a sense of urgency when she first came to me. Her daughter was expected to have her child here at the end of March, in which she informed me the other day that she did, was healthy. But she wanted to go ahead and have the home on the property for her daughter. And as it stood, she was in the A1 zone, and of course you have to have 25 acres to have two homes in A1. So the next zone that would be appropriate is the AR. However, in order to let that process begin, we did permit her as a medical hardship, which is allowed in the zoning ordinance. The only catch there is once the hardship is no longer there, and also she's caring for Miss Cleta, who needs her assistance. So they kind of need each other. But anyway, it would have to be removed had not she gone through this step of it. So we permitted it as a medical hardship, and I included that in the packet. And so this will just allow it to stay there permanently.
How long does the medical hardship stay in play?
They are good for 1 year. They have to be renewed with a doctor's certification each year. And they are monitored annually, and once that hardship is up, it has to be gone within 60 days.
All right. Any questions or comments on this, Bruce?
Ms. Patrick, just clarification on here. What does ADU stand for? She wants to change the home to an ADU instead of being allowed under the medical hardship allowance?
That is the accessory dwelling unit.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Any further questions or comments on this one? All right. Number 4.
Okay. This is for Jeff Burkhalter. He actually has 2 adjoining properties side by side, and they each are 14.63 acres. I don't know how that's possible, but they are right on the money, 14.63 acres. Both are zoned A1, and we need to take it to A2 to bring it into conformity with the zoning regs and to allow 3.8 acres from the tract, from this tract, to be absorbed with his adjoining property, which is map 14, parcel 64D, that includes his home. The property is located at 659 Lucky Jones Road in Hull on map 14, parcel 64A in District 1. And he's basically just wanting a buffer. He's just wanting to make his house tract have that little bit, the 3.8 acres added to it. And he said, in the future, his son may build on the other tract or possibly even sell it. But right now it's just vacant. And he just wanted to, and also there was a situation with his driveway. Part of it was on the adjoining property, and the other part, the main part, was on his house tract. But he wanted to straighten that up and get that lined up.
And that's another one you can combine next time, as long as Mr. Burkhalter's okay with that.
4 and 5.
Yes, sir.
Questions? Comments? I'll read consent. Go ahead.
Okay. Moving to number 6. This one is for, Richie Herring. He is the applicant for his father, Richard Herring, and he's requesting to rezone 3.96 acres of his property from A1 to AR to gift his son for a home site. Property is located at 3909 Highway 98 East in Comer on map 82, parcel 20, which is a portion of, in District 2. And he is just, pretty self-explanatory, needing a little tract of land that his son owns, and that's why he is doing that, because, currently A1 have to have 25 acres for 2 homes, so. And then he just wanted to cut that out for him.
So he's A1 now.
I'm sorry.
He's A1 now.
He is, yes, ma'am.
So he's cutting 3.96 off his other property, or is it just?
Well, he just has the one property, and he's cutting that off.
And how much acres?
He currently has 31.63 acres.
Yeah.
And then this is the proposed site. I'll put it up.
Okay, yes, 31 acres.
And then that's the configuration.
So he just wants to
So he's cutting off 3.96 acres out of that 31 acres.
Right, and the rest will stay A1.
He'll still stay in one.
Yes,
Rest
sir.
will stay in one.
Mm-hmm.
But without doing that, he could still put that
He could,
additional house there, right?
right, he could, but for financial purposes and the mortgage, he's needing to cut it
Okay.
out.
All right. Any further questions?
So there's currently 2 homes on the property.
No, sir, this one hasn't been moved on there.
I know, but you've got one here, and then you've got son's house.
Right, that's the proposed site plan. Wait a minute, one second here.
This is the property to be cut out, right?
That upper left.
Right, right.
So this one
And-
is currently there or not?
yes, the father's, all right, let me get my bearings straight here.
That's the father's house in the U.
I'm sorry, the brother lives on there. I apologize. So the father and one brother lives there, and he's wanting to be the third. I apologize.
So he does need this one because it's already got an accessory.
Yeah. Exactly.
So he has to,
Primary
yes, cut it off. Okay.
Exactly.
Third
Has
on the
it
property.
been deemed an accessory dwelling unit? I mean, is it,
Um,
I know how some parcels have 2, and
right.
so, the reason I ask is I went on Q Public today, and I've noticed that when it comes to us and we deem the ADU, then it's on Q Public. It's documented on Q Public. This one is not. And these 2 were put in here like in 2000, 2001.
And it depends on who did the
I'm
permitting.
sorry, 2020 and 2021. So,
Q Public, I'm sorry, Q Public said it was an ADU, or did it show as a permit when they built it? Okay, they got permitted, yeah, okay, sorry.
so
I don't think-
several that we have done lately are getting on Q Public as permitted ADUs.
And that's something new that we're doing on the building inspection side. We're trying to note it. In the previous years, that wasn't stressed as much.
But this one is not considered a permitted ADU.
Well, the permit would be for the construction.
Yeah, but it's not there yet.
ADU, you don't need any permission to build an ADU. You meet the zone, I mean, if you've got the acreage and you're in the right zone, you can build that second house as long as it's not bigger than the first one.
Or if you're building a bigger one, then that becomes the
Right.
primary.
That comes primary loan.
That becomes the accessory dwelling unit.
So that's kind of a meaningless rule.
Yeah. It really is.
So that was.
That was the lawyer.
So they're gonna all use the same drive, so the.
Be shaking your head on this, Commissioner.
I'm constantly coming up with things
Yes, ma'am.
about ADUs, it's like,
One drive.
Yeah.
I'll deal with it.
Okay.
Private drive.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, that's
private
private,
drive.
I mean, it's just like if, if your property's owned A2 and you wanna get a horse, you don't have to come up here and ask anybody, you just buy the horse.
Buy a horse.
You build that horse a shed that's larger than 400 square feet.
Yeah.
It's permanent.
Yeah.
As long as he stands under cedar trees, all right.
Another person wants to build a house. That becomes a subdivision.
No.
Missed it.
If,
Oh, 5. It's 5?
it's a private, it's when you hit 6 now. We did that last year.
Yeah.
This is a private drive, that would access it.
Yeah.
So you could have up to 4 of them?
Yeah, that's what I said.
You have up to 4 dwellings on a private drive, or 4 parcels, whichever.
So they could put one more,
Mm-hmm.
but since we're cutting that one out, making it AR, the other 3 would be on the A1.
The other 2 would be on the A.
No, I said somebody, another brother comes say, oh.
They
Well, they have to cut, they have to do the same thing
Oh,
that
they
this
have to
guy
cut
did.
it out again. Okay.
Yeah. Or if they tried to put an ADU and tuck it in the corner.
Okay.
Well, you already got 2 ADs.
Yeah, that's what I said.
There was one ADU for that 3.96 in the corner. They could fit one in that corner, and it
You
would have 4
can
homes.
have an ADU and an AR?
Yeah.
Okay.
But with 3.9?
Well, currently it has to
I
have
didn't
4
say it's gonna be
acres.
easy,
Oh, that's what I
Four
think. I knew there was something there,
You
yeah.
gotta have 4 acres?
Yeah,
But
currently.
they've got the possibility of working in another home
Yeah.
without having to come back.
This is 3.99.
3.9.
For the ADU, it's 4 acres
Okay.
So they could do it.
in the AR.
Yeah, it's,
Okay, any other questions on this one?
moving on that.
Okay.
Mhm.
And, let's see. Next up is Matthew Wilson. He's requesting a conditional use to operate a small-scale, non-breeding dog kennel for clients and to house ready-to-adopt rescue dogs on his property. Property is located at 955 Collins Dudley Road in Danielsville on map 61, parcel 45-01 in District 4. And, he's super nice guy, has a great plan. I'm sure that you noticed, on his letter of intent, it was very well laid out. And then he provided the site plan, and basically, with him being in an A2 zone, you have to have at least 10 acres for a dog kennel. And prior to doing this, he had 2 8-acre tracts. So he actually had to have those combined, which didn't require a rezone because they were both A2 already. So he had those combined, and then that let him be eligible for the conditional use from them.
Okay. So he's not asking for a variance or anything, doesn't have to.
No, he doesn't have to do a
Just
thing.
asking for conditional use. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And he did all the footwork for us and put it all together, the site plan and everything.
Yeah,
I
very.
was just gonna mention, this may be more for staff than y'all, but, last night, the Board of Commissioners, I noticed there's a letter of intent in here, and Mr. Scott noted
Right.
last night there was one on that dog kennel. The Board of Commissioners decided to make, add it to the conditions. This one, I see it's got a lot of detail, and there's a lot of stuff in here that would not be appropriate to make a condition, like who his CPA is.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff, so, just, if you hear a hint of, they may want to make this a condition,
Yeah.
y'all will need to do some work ahead of time to pull out the stuff that's an appropriate condition and mark out the stuff that's not.
Mhm. In which we require them now for such uses. That's
You
part of
might
the
well
package.
prepare to do that, because that's
Yeah, we can
exactly
get
what
on
they're
that.
gonna do.
Tracy, did you say the LOI is required
It is
for the conditional uses?
Yes.
For everyone? Okay, good.
Mhm.
Bruce?
I think they mentioned it, they own 10 dogs themselves right now. How many dogs do they envision? I didn't see that specified. What would be the maximum capacity for this facility?
He had, stated, I believe it was no more than, it was under 15, I believe it was.
Anybody got that handy?
I believe it was stated in conversation in the office, and
Mhm.
not in the letter.
That may be a possible.
Yes, yes.
Just
In the
to
number.
clarify.
The amount of dogs.
So is this becoming a popular?
Very.
Obviously it is.
Yeah.
For him, his impression to me in the office was he was wanting to do, I don't know, tax reasons or, anything might be where his heart leads him, but, to help assist in hunting dogs. Since Moaz is so overwhelmed and what have you, I honest to goodness think he has something on his heart to help out, because it's not a breeding facility, and it's not geared towards, kenneling, dogs at a cost that's set up to assist.
So that one last night was a non-breeding facility also, right? So we've only talked about one breeding kennel in the past year that I can think of, and that was one over there.
We've got one coming up.
Yeah.
District.
The one that, the building didn't meet the setback, Hannah's Creek.
Near the airport.
We
Yeah,
have.
right there. Next door to the
I just
airport.
don't want it to get out of control.
But two of them we didn't pass. Remember, there was one over there in Culver, and a lot of that was years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it was before you were here. That, a lot of the neighbors came before that one, and then there was another one, wasn't it on, in Hull? They were trying to come from.
In Hull.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was the one in Hull. That's been more than a year ago, I think.
yeah.
Christopher, would this fall under a condition that we could request that they register?
Well, we can put it as a condition, as far as the state for a breeding facility is one thing versus housing and kenneling is another, and then a third is a sanctuary classification where they still have to keep records and things of that nature. So if we did want to get him on GDA's radar as a registered kennel or animal operation, that's not outside of reason. There's several. We've got a pig sanctuary in the county, and they're registered with the state too.
But there's state requirements for all three of those?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So is there really any point for us saying you gotta do what the state already requires you to do anyway?
It helps us enforce it.
Oh, okay.
And the one that we just did, we required the three registers, so I see no reason that this one will be any different.
Okay.
And there's no reason of doing any euthanasia of any animals.
I'm pardon.
Any contemplation of doing euthanasia for any of these animals?
Yeah. Attorney, what was that called when we tell them they have to be under the state requirement?
Yeah, I guess it's just a condition.
Oh, we just say that.
Yeah, that's what I was asking, I mean,
We allow the conditional use with the condition that you register with the state.
We're under state requirements.
All right. Any further comments, questions on this one? Okay.
I did, maybe, is it possible for us to visit this area? I drove by and took some pictures from the road, but I didn't go up the dirt road, the driveway gravel. It's pretty rough looking up there.
It's beautiful property.
If y'all ever are somewhere where you're in doubt of either fitting your vehicle or hazarding yourself, please let me know. I'll meet you out there. You can meet me here and we'll drive out in the county truck, if you want to go in there. I'm not gonna say I wouldn't use you as a human shield.
Well, we are talking about a bunch of, you got $10.
Yeah.
It clicked in my mind.
I do
But
have,
if you want to go out there and there's any question, I'll go with you,
I
sir.
appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
I do
Or
have a
anybody.
question. How are we, policing the amount of dogs? I know we've had animal control issues. I just are worried that this is getting popular, that these people aren't gonna start keeping more than the 15 that.
Well, we put a condition on it, as we did that one last night, that they could only have 15 dogs.
Yeah, so how do we who's policing
It's
that?
When we require them to be a GDA registered facility, they get inspected twice a year by the field inspectors. And part of GDA, the policy for kennels in particular, or companion animals, including rabbits and all this other stuff. When they come, they have to have a copy of there's zoning that allows them to have it. So when we zone it in Madison County, they know it's a conditional use, and without a conditional use that is also attached to their establishment number, they're not an operating facility. So when an inspector goes out, they bring up a system, it's called AIRS, they put the establishment number in, mileage, all this other stuff, and they get there, and it tells them, all right, here's a list you need to look at for all the state. Is there a reasonable amount of fecal matter in there? Is there a wash facility? All these various things, and then there's a section below that, county or municipality. And that's where there'll be like a section of notes, Madison County has stated in this conditional use 15 dog max. And they'll go in there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Huh.
And then when they count it, they're also making sure that the dogs are healthy, well fed, not malnourished or anything like that. So by using GDA as a helping tool to enforce this, it makes everybody come into line. The same as a poultry house. We allow a poultry house, but Fieldale and GDA's out there, or whoever, making sure the birds are healthy, the lines aren't empty, and various other things.
Are those reports
That does
been
not include public.
submitted back
Does
to
not include
the appropriate authority?
It goes into the GDA record, and until there's a violation, nobody's found out. But we're very lucky. Madison County's companion animal field person actually used to work underneath me with GDA, Miss Morgan. She's top notch. When there's an issue, she puts a phone call into me.
Now, Chris, that doesn't include puppies, right?
No, you gotta be 6 months or older.
Okay, so I let her know.
It's kind of a silly question, but since they own 10 dogs, is that added into the maximum amount of dogs?
That would be up to y'all. You know, if that number gets included into it, like his personal dogs, if they're house dogs or hunting dogs versus what's at his facility.
Actually, isn't that in our definitions?
What a kennel is.
Yeah, so,
4 dogs.
yeah, that's what I was trying to
or more
remember.
for commercial purposes.
Oh, okay.
I can call
the
this
chief.
with
Yeah.
Well, that will be something that will, in the public hearing,
Yeah.
that we'll have to ask him about.
So if it's
And he'll
personal
have to
dogs,
address
not
that.
for commercial purposes, he can have as many of those as he wants.
Because we don't really know what his intent is.
Right.
They stay on this
Because
property.
I think we addressed that with the other lady, because she had personal dogs,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But that doesn't include, so she can have 20 personal dogs?
By our definition for a kennel, unless they're for commercial purposes.
So we might need, I don't know.
It gets iffy right in there, what's personal, what's commercial. Right price, anything that's personal.
Right.
If now went commercial, free market.
So,
As somebody who used to ride bicycles out in the country, I'm not near as worried about these dogs as I am the ones that are not registering with you under these conditions.
Absolutely.
But I'm sorry, that would be one point, if y'all want to bring up how many personal dogs to rescue or you're planning for your ratio, if y'all take that into your consideration for any conditions you do place on it, or if you approve of the conditional use.
all right.
I got
Additional questions, comments? Okay.
Next up, discuss amending the zoning ordinance in section 7.3 AR regarding the minimum acreage and 8.5.1.1 accessory dwelling units in AR and in A2 zones, and Article 8 area, yard, and height requirement chart.
I was 2 weeks ahead of the DOC.
So, the first one that's being addressed, in 7.3 is changing the minimum lot size from what is currently now 2 acres to 3.99 acres.
Okay. I thought they were still down there.
So that would mean the smallest lot size, but we have in the county 3.99 other than the R zones.
I'll let you know, I put that 399 in there to get y'all to discuss what the acreage should be. Should it stay 2? Should it be 5? Should it be 5 3/4? I have no idea, but for discussion, for y'all to take in. Unless for some strange reason y'all feel like that 3.99 is the magic number on the wheel. But for that discussion to come into play, what should an AR's true minimum be in relation to the comp plan that we've seen be produced?
In other words, there's no reason for a high number. It could be 4.
Well, if we change that to 3.99 or 4, whatever, will we be putting a lot of tracks out of non-conforming?
There would be several to where their parcel size would be lawfully non-conforming, but their land use would not be. And that's something we've tried to bring to the BOC, I guess, Mike. I would say it's just not about parcel size, it's about the land use.
Yeah, I mean, zoning is supposed to be about use, not, we focus a lot on sizes, but, yeah, but to focus on sizes, I mean, it's not necessarily a problem to have a lot of non-conforming A2s or ARs or whatever. I mean, if what you're doing is you're trying to designate areas that you think are appropriate for a certain set of uses, and not secondary to that, certain sizes. And if there's already a lot of non-conforming smaller ones there, that's okay. You're planning for the future, not trying to deal with the past.
And if I can say where I get phone calls, pressure, emails from 2 to 5 acres. I'm honest, I'm on the record. I get the pressure from 2 or 5 acres for what an AR should be. And we had it handled real good last year when we went into it by changing what RR was to make it reflect more of the county. And we kept it 2 so that those pre-existing RRs rolled into it. Now with the county comp plan, the question is, with keeping that rural character, is 2 acres really what we want to see in how they phrase it? Character areas, I think is the term they use. Or do we want those parcels where people come out and they don't necessarily want to bale 20 acres, or they don't want to have a chicken house? What's going to keep that rural area out there? If we let, one argument, if we let a bunch of 2 acres just pop up along the road, then essentially we're creating a subdivision that's popping up down one road versus spreading them out further. But of course, you could cut a parcel any size you want. The other is people that want to come in, or the other side of the coin is the people that may want to come in and buy a few acres in Madison County, then work in the surrounding county. They don't want to buy a 5-acre parcel. They just want to have a 2-acre parcel, but they want to still be in the country. Well, it's that way in between the two. And with the comp plan and the growth, and where this board thinks we need to go with our comp plan, this being the AR, the grease between the two, from the residential and the ag, where does it really need to be? Does it need to be closer to, say, residential like an R1 being 1.5 acres, or does it need to be closer to A2 being 10 acres?
So what is the comp plan? What is the comp plan really saying? Where are they wanting those AR 2 acres?
Well, that's the question. Where are we wanting to allow the 2R, or should we say, hey, no, 1.5 acres? We're talking about, like right now, a 1/2 acre difference. And an R1's more appropriate outside of, like, the city limits, coming into the unincorporated county or down our thoroughfares, so to say. Where, if you get out in the kingdom of Harrison, where everybody's spread out, maybe that 2 acres doesn't fit that character area. It doesn't roll off my tongue very well, I'm sorry. What's going to be the buffer, the right buffer? Just like the poultry house buffer, what's going to be the appropriate buffer between residential and ag?
Where are we drawing our line, like 98, this side of 98, or?
Well, remember your comp plan is not zoning. That's why it's using character areas, not zones. So, I think the comp plan's on the website if anybody wants to pull it up, but I don't
It's
remember.
no longer on the website, they pulled it down, and it's at the regional commission.
Yeah.
It's going through its second round at the regional commission.
Oh, so there may be some revisions.
Yeah.
Okay,
We've already went through one round of revision.
okay, all right. So we don't know where those lines are at the moment.
So, the map,
This is the draft map,
that's like a.
and it is still on the comp plan. If you look in documents, the
on
draft
the
is
documents.
still, you can pull this up.
I know they took
On the county
quickly.
website or the
The one that
state
Maryland,
website? the
no,
DCA?
the one that Maryland did for.
Yeah,
Oh, that one, okay.
I know our
Madison County
quick
comp
link to it
plan or
is
whatever.
down off
I
the
didn't,
county.
I printed that out today because I was wondering the same thing that you were just.
Yeah. Cause I see a subdivision going down 72 going towards Elberton.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm saying, we need a boundary, where are you wanting to keep these 2 acres?
And that's what that character area, or,
Yeah, so those character areas are gonna define, if you look at the definitions of them, they'll tell you sort of what's supposed to be in each one. Your AR zone probably fits in which character area?
all of the unincorporated, it's supposed to be that buffer between the deep green and the
Okay.
light green.
Okay,
I
So-
think I said the right color green.
okay. So from a zoning perspective, you're trying to define what do you think is an appropriate, minimum lot size for that buffer area? Okay.
So, for example, if it's in one of these areas, which is kind of intentionally moving towards more density,
Mhm.
so that we relieve the pressure on the agricultural land. When we have these situations where they're carving out 3.99 for a son to have a house on it, in those areas, we would be able to just say, well, what, you just need an R1.
That would be an option.
We cut out that for an R1
But-
rather than an AR.
But that's, again, you're trying to put like things both in size and use in, together in areas. So when you start cutting up with different zones all in the same place, that's kind of against.
Counterintuitive and
Yeah.
what zoning is, the
Right.
R1.
Right,
With these cutting out,
Yeah.
the parcels is to, allow them to finance that home.
so there are
Not so
lots
much
of
zoning.
schools of thought, I mean, this is a deep end, so I think, probably needs a bigger, longer look, as we've talked about. So there's different schools of thought about how you preserve the rural area and accommodate the growth.
Mhm.
I read an article just a couple of weeks ago on a national newspaper about actually ADUs being part of that. That is one tool. If you allow more ADUs, that's one tool to, you put those sons and daughters in that house, just one house on that lot, and you don't force all that cutting up into small parcels. Another thing that always comes to mind when we're having this discussion is many years ago when Bruce Scoville was on the Board of Commissioners. I always remember this, him saying, guys, we thought we were doing good preserving rural character with these big minimum lot sizes. And all we've done is force everybody that wants to build a house, young family getting married, wants to get a place, instead of buying 2 acres and building a house, they have to buy 5 acres, and now they can't afford to build a house, they have to put a mobile home on it. So,
And the pressure for the cutoff isn't necessarily ADU or the mobile home, it's from the financial aspect of it. I know, at least from my generation down, I don't know anybody other than myself that paid cash to do their home, or paid for their house or built it as they went. No, they went to the bank. They're working for the bank, they just might not know it, turning it back around.
Where did the 3.99 come from?
In the moratorium, when we were allowing everybody to rezone AR, it was to prevent those AR rezones that we were having coming in and being able to split again within the rezone. So say somebody came in and they were still wanting to do a development, and they said, all right, well, I've got 2 adjoining A2 properties, and I'm going to fit a house on each of them and then rezone 4 acres apiece to AR, and then I can split them into 2. So now I've turned 2 parcels into 6,
If you don't have at least 4 acres, you can't split that parcel again, because who's, So, that's the 399. But that would have no application of what we're talking about.
Yeah, that was just a number, to spark the conversation.
Now, this has to be, whatever we decide, or we won't decide tonight, won't.
Yeah.
It has to go before public hearing?
Oh, yeah, another text amendment, it's the same process, that's right, and I think it's already advertised.
It's advertised for it, but we still have the option to table it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we've advertised appropriately for us to open the discussion like the board wanted, and if we want to discuss it more as a P&Z board, when we come to public hearing, we can talk about it in front of the public, get input in, if y'all choose for that. But at the same time, if we get that input and, we can't form a consensus about what that proper size is, we can table it, and still, they gave us the 30 days to talk about it, so we could still table it on to the next month for us to be able to discuss it at another business meeting, and then it come up at another public hearing. So I put that buffer in there with this to accommodate the BOC's request.
Yeah, that's a real good point. We do have some deadlines we have to hit to move it along, get a rezone applicant, but we don't have to do that with ourselves, so.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, yeah, just, I guess a quick question on the point about the size of this. Is there parameters? I mean, you mentioned 2, 5. Is that pretty much the minimum and maximum that we should look for ARs, considering the status of A2 and what's 10 and 25?
Opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two numbers that get put to me as being the minimum, either 2 or 5. And so to spark the conversation, I tried to find the middle ground with 3.99 and using that same number, but that's where I get the pressure. Should it be 2, like I originally had it put in there, or should it be bumped up to 5 now that we see what the citizens of the county want to keep the rural area and trying to keep it a little larger? And this feeds into the next section about ADUs and all these ADUs that are coming in as well, like we're seeing a lot of for these some of these rezones, and how our attorney put it, trying to welcome the residential or the accessory dwelling units. So if somebody does get that 5 acres and they want to have an additional dwelling on it, we essentially just put it back down to where it's 2.5 acres a house on there.
Well, if you put another dwelling on there, you have to have another septic tank.
Mm-hmm. It takes 25,500 square feet for a septic system, less its repair field.
Well, what if your septic system fails, but you have to have another?
The repair field. You have to have
We have to have room for it.
Yeah.
Well, a 2 acre lot, all it's big enough for is 2 septic tanks and 1 well. Unless you go to acre lot, then you gotta have city water.
Yeah. That's actually about 1.5 acres. When you start buying too much, between an acre and a half.
Well, then again, if you say 5 acre lot, then you're back to the point, if somebody young wants to buy 5 acres, then they can't afford to build a house.
Mm-hmm.
Then can they move a mobile home in?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then you're back to where the county's
at the same point again.
You're at the same point.
Well, some folks can't afford nothing but a mobile
everywhere.
Period. No matter what acres they got. That's all
Yeah,
they
the
can
point's
afford.
not necessarily the housing, the point is, instead of having some small, and people have different schools of thought, but if one school of thought is, we'd like to have the density here with however small a lot it takes to get it, so we can preserve the big farms like Mr. Simmons has in other places, so that there's not conflicts between those uses.
Well, excuse me to interrupt you. Well, one thing that I haven't seen in there is soil types. Just because I got a big acreage don't mean it's got the right kind of soil type on it to do that. Take, for instance, the Ghostin Stand Field.
Yeah.
That's some of the finest farming land in the country. And it's already cut up into 17 house lots on part of it.
Yeah.
That
As
was
far
all
as the soil
pre-zoned.
type, you can't get any better soil than that
No.
piece of land. And it goes all the way from there to the city limits of Danielsville, that same type soil.
Mr. Sim?
So,
Yeah, Mr. Sim, and you just said what I'm thinking, and I'm just throwing it out there about Madison County. Okay, farming, we need farmers, but where is it, we're revolving in farming today? Are there farmers coming are we seeing a lot of farmers coming out here to buy acreage to farm?
They can
Or
afford it.
we have a lot of people coming out here buying acreage to build
They have one
homes?
on board.
Yeah.
They have one on board.
I know, I'm gonna say, but you know, that's what I'm saying, where is it revolving now? Because I see acreage, farm acreage up for sale, and some of those are builders moving in building. So are there a lot of people coming to try to get farming land, or are there more people?
A farmer's a farmer until they become a developer.
Right.
It's the best way to put it. You farm until you're taxed out of it because of people wanting to move in.
Right, and that's what I said, where are we at? Because I know you guys had your farms for years, right?
Yeah, we moved
Maybe-
here.
Oh, you moved here, okay. You've had yours for years. So you moved here because you wanted to farm.
Yes, we're first generation.
Okay, so that's why, where I'm trying to go. How are
I
we?
think what Cynthia's trying to say is, there's more people that's not moving in here to farm.
Mm-hmm.
And people want to buy these big tracts of land so they can
Develop.
develop it. All this farmland, they develop it, and you can't get, because the prices are high on this, they can make more out of developing land than they can farming.
So are we getting dead
Quicker.
land
Quicker.
because there's nobody that really wants to farm, but there's people that want to build houses? So is that land being,
There's people that do want to farm, in our area, moving out and through Oglethorpe County, Stevens County, Franklin County. There's satellite UGA research stations out there because they're helping, or they're getting funds for UGA to help keep the farm. So they don't have to sell it off, and there's various grant programs as well, through the NRCS and USDA to help farmers deal with the property tax and with, becoming current or updating, as the poultry industry calls it, updating your houses, updating this and that. It's a battle for the farmers to stay. It doesn't matter if you're ninth generation or first generation, it's just as hard.
because of the money, the cost? So that's what I
just
said.
like Chris said, the farmers are taxed out of farming. Well, your property becomes 10 times more valuable to sell to a developer.
Yeah, so that's what I said, that's where we're revolving to. But where we need that perimeter of, okay, this is gonna be all farmland, this is where we're gonna do the 2 acres or the,
You said revolving to or evolving to?
evolving.
Okay.
And that's where us as zoning using these character areas, where,
And so if you impose big lot requirements in you zone that rural character areas as A1 and A2 and impose big lot requirements, now you could help that farmer as long as he wants to farm, because those requirements and those restrictions are devaluing his land. And he's gonna love you until the moment he wants to become a developer.
Yeah.
And then he's gonna hate you.
for the moment, his offspring don't want to farm it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the real problem,
That's the
the
problem.
next generation that doesn't want anything to do with farm.
So, just looking at, we were, 7.3, we're talking about the 3.99. Now, following that is, when we come down to AR, the next one, it talks, you have to have a minimum of 8 acres. That's the proposed
For the
change,
ADU.
in order to get an
Well,
extra
ADU.
unit on
Do
it. So
we
for
want to read
example.
that in, and we can start that conversation or add it to the conversation? I just want to make sure we're following.
Oh,
Well, see,
I didn't mean to
Is
jump.
that okay? No, I love the evolution.
well, it's fine, let's just move on.
What's, would you like to read section 2?
Sure. All right, the next section, section 8.5.1.1, This is the AR and A2 zones. Currently, in the AR zone, you can have a minimum of 4 acres to have 2 homes. The proposed is raising it to 8 acres for 2 homes. In A1, it's staying the same, it's been 25, it'll stay 25. In A2, you currently, of course, we all know you can have 2 homes on 10 acres, and they're proposing to increase it to 20 acres for 2 homes.
Why? Why we proposing 20 acres?
All right, I'll throw that one in. Again, what comes to me, is if you put that second home on it, and it's intense agriculture, if they split it for some reason, it doesn't have to go through a rezone and make or change in the land use. So that 10 acres, if you have 20, you put the accessory dwelling on it, say they did have to split it, or father and son went either way, or anything, for any nature, the land use didn't change, putting the ADU on it.
So in this
That's
case,
the way tide comes, it ebbs and it flows with me.
So let me ask this question.
Yes, sir.
So somebody had 11 acres.
Mhm.
Somebody had 11 acres. In this case, they would be able to put an ADU on it.
They were zone A2 due to the lot size, and then it would be determining not just the lot size, but the land use. So if you eat away at the big rural area and you zoned it to AR, the residential came in where the big farms were. And that,
Well,
I'm trying to translate, you know, what comes to me.
my concern with this is though that you're taking, we're pushing, you gotta have 20 acres, and Cynthia has a son and she wants to put him on, you know, give him a place to live, then you're making it really more and more difficult for her to do that by moving it to 20 acres.
And you're protecting the large land lots and the ag and the rural county.
Well, I got to follow up on that, you know, talking about the comp plan.
Mhm.
If the comp plan calls it agriculture, you want to have 20 acres for agriculture. What if you're out in the country, A2,
Mhm.
where you can have smaller residential? Would you have to have 20 acres for that ADU?
Yeah, just like with an A1, you have to have 25. What's the difference between an A1 and an A2?
So the bigger question is, in this whole scheme of trying to figure out where things should be, which is hard enough, we haven't done that yet, how do we use this one tool of ADUs to achieve that goal? And it's one of it. And
I'd say the only difference between A1 and an A2 is being able to have a CAFO. So if you have a poultry farm, then you're, or a hog parlor, or a confined calf feeding operation. Well, then, because you've got 5 more acres and you can meet your setbacks, you can have a ADU, which is normally just a worker's house.
well, yeah,
You know
I mean,
what
I don't know all the permitted and conditional uses of A1 and A2
Yeah.
off the top of my head. I mean, in general, the concept, I mean, most places generally they're going to have A2 or something that's, you know, analogous to what we call A2, that is sort of the most innocuous possible set of uses.
Yep.
It's not intensive farming, it's not intensive residential or business, it's the most innocuous. And so that's going to be all your vacant land is going to be in that category. And then if somebody wants to do anything more intensive, either agriculturally or residentially or commercially, they're going to have to come for a rezone.
And to keep the residents from coming in.
I guess my concern is that we're talking about the young generation coming in that can't afford to do certain things.
Yeah.
Well, if we keep expanding this, and you're gonna have more, then we're gonna limit the families from helping their children to accomplish having a new home, or accomplish putting something somewhere. And I think that zoning is not made for that. We shouldn't be making it harder, we should be making it easier.
Harder for who?
Harder for me as a, well,
As a taxpayer or as a parent?
as a parent.
What about the taxpayer?
I am a taxpayer.
Well,
I'm a parent,
but
I'm a taxpayer.
there's two sides to that coin, because as you do build population, there's goods and services that are expected to be provided. So therefore, the size of government has to grow to fill that, which in this particular county at this point, with the largest employer being the Board of Education, the tax burden is put on to the citizen.
But you get more taxes. You get more rooftops, you get more taxes.
Rooftops don't pay for
Well, I mean,
Sometimes don't you need
people-
business and industry to pay taxes?
Well, like,
We got the wrong tax base in Madison County.
well, yeah, we need
Rooftop.
businesses too. That's another one that offsets the taxpayers. But what I'm saying, like, he has to pay a lot of taxes because of his, well, he might get some discounts or somewhere. But I don't know with farming. You get discounts, I don't know.
Cool, that cool thing
Yeah,
about
okay.
Conservation use.
I might save $1,800 a year
Oh,
on 500 acres in Madison County, 562.
But, like he's saying, I understand what you're saying, that you're gonna need more services. Because you have more people, is that what you're saying? But, that's where there's a thin line, because if I did buy, like if I'm, a lot of people that came before us, they want to start, their families want to start coming back because they can't afford, housing is getting outrageous, it's very expensive. So I can come home, my dad has 25 acres, I can come home, sit with them for a while, because I got the land. You know how much the land costs? A land costs a lot to build a house, and then you got to build a house. So,
I was just presenting the other
Yeah,
side of the
yeah.
coin, where you're talking about, and I hope my kids come home.
yeah,
Multi-generational living, Google it and do some reading. That's the
Right.
popular vernacular
Yeah.
for the ADUs and
Right.
talking about those kind of things but let's also look at the other side of it, and I hate to be this way, but 50% of marriages end in divorce. Okay, so when we put that ADU in areas, there's a reason why we have another septic system that's required, because what happens if that family were to split and then that property is sold to meet the obligations of a divorce?
well, that might be a minimum, hopefully, pray to God that they're not
50%
there
of the
to
marriages end in divorce. I'm sorry, the numbers don't.
64% of Georgian marriages.
But if
And I'm
it's
not-
an ADU, then that's a risk that the landowner
Yeah.
takes
Yeah,
as a trade-off for being allowed to do that.
right.
So,
And then there's some people that look at ADUs as a way to get around zoning,
right.
is a way to pierce and change a community, if you will.
Sure.
By those type things. Look at Walton County, and they have really gone back and tightened up that, because as things become more expensive, hey, how do I pay for my primary residence? Well, I'll build an ADU and I'll rent it out. And then, a group of people come together and do that, and then that can shape the character area because we have increased the density on the other side of it. And once again, the challenge is, I see it, I'm all for it, because I'm blessed with 3 kids, and I hope I'm trying to convince them, I'll build a pool, I'm doing everything I can to get them back. But do I supersede that of my neighbors in my community? My desires and wants, does that supersede the whole?
But-
That's where I struggle
Well, that may
with
not
that.
supersede I see what you're saying, but I'm saying, okay, we're at a talk. Okay, I'm concerned about my neighbors, and they probably doing the same thing. They want to do the same thing, but that's why I said there's a thin line of, I'm not saying looking at my family. I'm just saying I bought property for a certain thing. My neighbor bought property for a certain thing. So we are not gonna make everybody happy, we need to,
There we go. So that's the reason we went through
harmony.
the process with the county and all the meetings that we had, and that's what the draft of the comp plan is before right now, the regional commission. And, I mean, it's there. I read it today in preparation for this. I mean, read it, go back and look at it, what it
but I
says.
did, but some of the people were not voiced. Or they were
They-
voiced and they did not.
They have-
I know, but they were voiced, but I didn't see some of the voices that I saw at some of those meetings being represented on that.
Madison County is a dynamic community that enjoys strong ties to the surrounding region while preserving its own charm, style, and pace. The citizens' vision focuses on the desire to maintain the county's rural and natural qualities by preserving agricultural and environmental resources. Industry and business growth, infrastructure, and residential development should be directed into cities and other planned development nodes, thus allowing economic growth that can support services needed by residents. Madison County will be a place where citizens can live and work and take pride in their community. So with that vision statement, that's what
I understand that.
the people have said is
But
they
if you,
want the growth in the cities where there is currently some infrastructure or some services to meet that demand.
but even in the cities, there's no infrastructure.
I don't represent
But
the
I'm
city.
saying, I know,
I
I'm saying
represent
that.
the
But if the
unincorporated
cities,
part of
if
the
you
county.
put everything in the city's gonna have to grow out too, because it's gonna get overwhelmed. So that's what I'm saying, it's gonna have to grow out.
Well, there's a balance
Yeah.
there, but remember that, for example, Comer is 1 mile,
Oh, yeah.
it's a big area that we got there. And, there's a lot more development, and talking about Mr. Simmons, the beautiful land up there at Golston Stand. Yeah, well, it also is right adjacent to the Matico, industrial development area.
Right.
So, I mean, it's kind of fitting that it's virtually almost inside Comer. And that would be a place that, it would be half a mile from schools and things like that. I mean, pushing things towards the cities, I think, is what the comprehensive plan is looking at. I think we just haven't got it clarified enough that it's useful for us to say, well, this is this, and this is this.
Can I frame that a little differently? So I think, the comprehensive plan paints with a very broad brush of character areas of the county. It does not tell you how to achieve that. You achieve that with your zoning ordinance and your subdivision regulations. And this is a great discussion. You achieve it with these details of your zoning ordinance and subdivision regs that you guys are talking about. Now, we are not the first group of people to sit in a room and debate this. There are experts in this state and in this world who have done this many, many times.
Absolutely.
And will come in here and listen to your discussion and tell you the various options to achieve what you're trying to achieve and let you craft and choose the route you want to go.
Is this
Christopher and I are not those people.
Is this what Terry was referring to last night about bringing in a third party?
Because there's some cities that are looking at annexing some of the county, so they can have more area because they need to grow.
They want to grow.
Well, yeah, they need to, but they want to grow.
Yeah, annexation's a topic unto itself. I mean, it's definitely an appropriate part of this, but it's another complicated
I
area.
know, but they're looking at things too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, would you like to have more subdivisions? Or I personally would like to see more these ADUs than packed up subdivisions everywhere.
Well, I think before you pick that, you look back to what William just read, that, okay, there's our vision. How do we get there? ADUs are definitely going to be a part of that, but exactly how they're a part of it, I can't tell you. I don't know.
We built the transmission and let the county engine run. I do want to say I'm loving this conversation because normally it's me just getting it hammered at me, so I love the back and
Yeah.
forth, thank y'all.
But anyway, obviously, we're not gonna just resolve it tonight. So it's something you can go home and think about. You know, when we come back at our next meeting, or we public hearing, may hear more from the public as to, this, and then we can pretty much, I think we've gone through 1 and 2. Number 3.
Yes, and
Let me ask one thing. Is it not logical to arrive at this minimum acreage for AR that we started talking about? Is it not logical to try to marry the minimum acreage needed with the permitted and the conditional uses that you're going to put on those properties? For instance, it says right here, agricultural uses including raising of farm animals, crop production, blah, 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 that they're not allowed to run free, they gotta be fenced in. Of course, most farms are fenced in, but
I said that, blah, blah, blah.
blah, blah, blah.
Good job, too.
I personally have a problem with a minimum of 2 acres for AR with an unlimited number of farm animals for a small piece of property like that.
Not necessarily unlimited, because they still have to meet state standards for grazing versus a confined animal.
So there is a controlled number of animals for AR, whereas there would not be for an A2 and an A1.
No, it'd still be the same grazing field that's set by the state. Say a cow, for instance, is one acre to have a cow graze and not be fed. If you put 2 cows inside of an acre.
I know that's a recommended number, but is that enforceable?
I don't know the state, those are state guidelines or state regulations?
State regulations.
Okay.
there's a part of zoning that
That is not.
animal use.
Well, who's gonna enforce it?
Georgia Department of Agriculture.
If I got it, it's do them.
I guess, with all that said, I was looking over the conditional uses and the permitted uses and trying to marry that with a minimum acreage that it would take that you could use those for.
And that's where, like Mr. Canolis is saying with, somebody wanting to help out and having the acreage versus the size and the land use. We're in a tough situation where the land use kind of needs to reflect the size of the parcel, right? And then to meet setbacks and to have a reasonable use. I understand what you're saying as well, like 2 acres.
I'm trying to
house and I have 1 cow, and that's ag versus, all right, well I'm just gonna go to 5 acres from 2. I have 5 acres, I have a home, and now I'm making soap out of goat's milk because I have 3 acres in the backyard and I can fit 24 goats back there.
If I say 5 acres, I want to be able to justify that. I'm trying to approach this the same way that we did A1. We arrived at 25 because we determined it takes 25 acres to put a couple of chicken houses on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
23 and a half, if you
pretty
compare
clear to
them.
me. With this, saying that it's going to be 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever, what do you base that on?
Yeah. And that's where the land use comes into the parcel size in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, a concern that I raised Christopher today, and this may or may not be part of what you're saying, and I'm not trying to make it if it's not, but personally, I've never seen, what I've seen is zoning ordinances have their set of classifications and the minimum lot sizes for each and the permitted and conditional uses for each. I've never read down in there and seen where, okay, in A2, your minimum lot size is this, and here are your uses, but if you want to do this use, it's bigger. If you want to do this use, it's somewhere in between. I mean, you end up with a tax code.
The subdivision covenant limits it.
But,
Okay,
number 3.
Ms. Tracy, move on.
And that's just amending the use chart to reflect those 3.99 acre changes from 2.
It's what you've already talked about.
Yeah.
Chart.
It's the chart, so whatever number, so to say, that we come up with as a recommendation, we already have it there to cover our duty to make sure the chart reflects what we recommend. Moving forward, so we don't have to come back again.
And just real quickly, the numbers that in red that are suggested, where did they come from?
Complicated.
Okay.
People come, well, he said this a few times, people saying that they think AR should be somewhere between 2 and 5 acres.
That's where
That's
it
a
came
number
from.
in that range.
And then, the 20 came from, if you have, an ADU in an A2, an intense agriculture zone, to keep it from changing its land use designation. If you have a home and it does split, the land still maintains its land use in an A2. And then the same with AR, I could have put in there, 7.998.
Yeah.
I just rounded up to 8. I got the one weird number to get you thinking.
But this is not,
I don't know. Is that what we want to do? Do we
I
want
don't want to.
Yeah, I don't think we would. I think we want to hold the line.
Yeah.
this is not on the agenda, but I want to bring it up anyway. I want to ask the question that I've been confused about. For instance, Mr. Byron Sexton came in here and we rezoned his property so that he could go to the next step to rezone it again, to change it so that he could. Why do we have to have, why does there have to be a two-step process?
Because it's in the moratorium. We can't do a flat-out rezone.
Why not?
Because in the, I don't know the meat, I guess I'd say, of the moratorium, it says we can bring it into conformity, and then from conformity, we can allow that 3.99.
Okay, I understand that that's what we said originally. But is that the right thing to do, or is that,
That's been the interpretation of the moratorium. I don't know if that's, I would say it's not totally possible, but moratorium's going to expire in May anyway, next month.
Yeah. Then we won't have the two steps.
Then you won't have that anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know it just didn't,
It was a way.
it just didn't make any sense to me that he had to come pay again, we had to drag him back in here.
No, he only had to pay once, coming into conformity was free.
Drag him in here and have to go through the same thing over again, almost knowing that we're gonna approve it. 99.9% chance we're gonna approve it. So why couldn't we have taken care of it at the beginning? But I guess it's a big point system. Unless they're going to, extend the moratorium. All right. Can I get a
But no, I
motion to
understand
adjourn?
your question.
Motion to adjourn?
What?
I thought he had a question.
No, yeah.
I'm making a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moving properly second that we're adjourned. All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.
Next person, facility.
I don't believe in reinventing wheels.
That's the reason we're trying to make it right.
Well, I think in putting it out there that I wanted to be on the board, just trying to figure out where I think I was.